Okay. The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
My pick.
It was a good movie.
I mean, for the time.
Yeah.
Some very unexpected turns near the end.
Yeah. It's like, what? Part of it is like, how much do we talk about? Because is it, spoiler alerts and stuff like that. But I mean, anyone can look up anything. So my guess is
it's a 80-year-old movie. So I don't really think
they'll be too upset.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately we're here to talk about the movie. And so I don't think we need to make any pretenses into that it's a brand new movie out and everybody's gotta.
Oh, but Bogart ends up dead, and like the star of the show rarely ends up dead. And it's like,
I was impressed with that, actually.
Yeah. Well, I think my favorite shots was when he was just before the end. Is he's getting desperate and needs to have the water, and he finds the water and he's drinking it, from and then you see in the reflection of the water the guy standing there. Holy crap! It was like I'd never seen that done so well. I thought that was just so full of suspense, and it's like, oh no.
You didn't think at that moment? I thought maybe he's hallucinating
or something. But then
that shadow and the reflection in the water. Well, and I'm thinking he's drinking the water and he's going to get immediately sick from it. Like that's going to be the. But then I'm thinking back then, I think everybody's like the horses. They can drink from stagnant water. People probably could too if you're used to it.
Yeah, the immune systems and so on. Yeah, I thought it will take care of his burros too. I mean, give them water. They have to be thirsty. So
I have a newfound love for burros, watching TikTok, and there's a ton of great donkey videos. and they're wonderful. There'll be a girl and said, I've not been home for a week and a half. I'm here. She calls the donkey and it cries for her.
What happened?
And comes running and just wants to puts his head up, closes his eyes, just so desperately wants to be loved.
Oh no, you want a donkey, don't you?
Oh my goodness. Oh, I didn't know they were as protective as they are over. So like a wolf and a donkey, who wins in that fight?
Yeah, you would think the wolf, but not necessarily. Donkeys are big kickers.
Not even close.
Yeah.
It's like not. So they send donkeys out to watch the sheep, and they do a fantastic job because they're very protective of their surroundings. Like if you're there and it's you and a wolf or a pack of wolves, you're probably going to be fine with that donkey. I've seen videos of it picking up. I think it was a coyote, but. I mean, it was a big coyote. It may have been a wolf, but it picked it up by the neck and threw it. And the wolf coyotes got nothing to do with anything but being thrown. He had no option in it. It was fantastic.
Well, the donkey that went and hugged its owner is that they're probably not all like that, Jeff. So if you would get one, it probably wouldn't be like that.
I would get one like that.
You would make it love you.
Even turtle. I want a turtle to love me. I want a turtle to look out and come towards me.
Why? Yeah, you have a dog, so that's close enough to adoration.
Yeah,
way better than kids.
They don't adore you till they turn 30.
Well, and there's this moment. They're great when they're little, and then when they're older again. If you did okay, it turns out good again. So.
Yeah, no kidding.
So back to the movie. Bogart plays a cranky, down on his luck and begging, desperate kind of guy. And did you recall where you've seen maybe him do a line before?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Can I show it to you? I'm going to see if I do. We know how to screen share?
Yeah, you're going to go to. There's a little
present now.
Up arrow, and present, and then it says window or tab. So
okay, let's see if I can do that. A window or a tab. I'll do a window. Now I'll pick up this one and share, and then I'll press play. Wait for it to go and.
I don't hear it.
Oh, you can't?
No.
Okay, that was it.
It's weird.
So stop presenting. You couldn't hear it?
No, probably because it's coming through your headphones.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd have to change that. But what he says is, say, can you help a fellow American down on his luck?
Oh, that's where that's from.
That's where it's from. And I was going, oh, yeah.
I'm going to try and find one and do another line here. Let's see if I can share this with you. Window, and this one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that hilarious, eh?
Yeah. What is that? Blazing Saddles. Okay. Yeah.
And that's like, in fact, when I said badges, we don't need to sing about it. It showed the Treasure of Sierra Madre first, and then this is the second option in it. Because it's funny, because I remember hearing people talk about that line, badges, we don't need no stinging badges. And they said it way more like that in Treasure of Sierra Madre than they did in Blazing Saddles. He just says it once, badges, we don't need no stinging badges. And it was just a cast-off line. But I've heard it as a really serious kind of line, and it's funny how the original was the best one. The second one was a bad takeoff of it. But that's cool that you saw a reference.
To Bugs Bunny. You saw Blazing Saddles. No, we watched a lot of Bugs Bunny as kids, and it was funny because Bugs Bunny would have, like, they had the Barber of Seville and the Marriage of Figaro, the opera, and Bugs Bunny was doing it with Elmer Fudd, and that's so funny. I was in the library, and the kids were begging for the soundtrack from the Marriage of Figaro and the Barber of Seville, and the librarian was so impressed that I was teaching my kids, classical music, but they wanted to listen to the Bugs Bunny soundtrack thing. So almost. So let's see. A couple of, not plot holes, but things I went, They were in the desert, and then they were in the rainforest, and then they were in the desert again. So that rainforest, and they explained it by saying, yeah, we're in the valley. And it's like, well, if it's a valley, why is it so rainforesty?
And with the Indian camp where the kid drowned or whatever, and all the swimming in the water and wonderful stuff around.
It's so idyllic. Yeah.
Did you know Robert Blake was in that movie?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I saw that the Mexican boy selling the lottery tickets was Robert Blake, but I didn't sort of notice him as Robert Blake at all.
Okay, I'll try and present the window. So this shows the ad, and I can't make it bigger or anything, but down at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
There's that picture of him, and he's just a teenager, like he's a young kid.
Zoom in by holding the control key down and scroll your mouse.
Holding the control key down.
And then scroll your mouse with the wheel.
Oh.
There you go.
There he is. So yeah, just a kid.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have known him to be that. It's funny that I mean the strange thing was he got him a lottery ticket, and the guy goes, "We'll need $600 for this venture." Oh, we have $500. Oh, I won $100.
Oh,
like, one is, if somebody said to me, "We need to start a computer company to write some software to do something," the amount of money you need is anywhere between $1,000 and $10 million.
Right.
Like, to have it defined as we need specifically
Yeah.
$500, $600. That's a little bit of nonsense.
Well, some of the like plot holes they were sort of filling in, like when they were walking through the rainforest, they said, "Oh, isn't it nice here in the valley?" kind of thing. It's like, oh, okay, they're in the valley, they're not in the desert anymore. And the other one, what was the other one that they sort of explained? Let me see. Where did I write that down? Oh, can't remember. But they sort of explained it away. Oh, they're building these mines, and they build it all up, and it's like, well, how did they do that so fast? And it's like, no, they were there for 10 months. Oh, okay, that makes a little more sense.
Right,
that they were there that long. But yeah, it was at the beginning, his desperation and the begging, and then the turn of luck, and then the bandits on, like when they were on the train and the all the guns. It's like, when people are so poor, they sure have a lot of money for cigarettes and gun bullets and stuff. Like they're starving to death, but they have those things.
But isn't that like cell phones are today? I mean,
Sure.
People are broke and they're homeless, and yet they got a cell phone and a cell plan and good data.
Yeah, that's your lifeline, right?
Yeah, so you take the thing that is important to you. The whole down on the luck aspect of it, and the thought of picking yourself up by the bootstraps and solving your problems. Like every time Humphrey Bogart, his head shone way bigger. Like, in other words, the future will be better. The future will be better for sure. Yeah. But remember when he said, "Oh no, I'll just want my little bit of money. I'm not going to get overblown in my head as to I
won't get greedy." Yeah.
And he got the most greedy, and the other guy said nothing. It's that so reminds me of how people are when they think, they think of themselves a certain way, and they're the opposite. The more you tell people I'm like this and pat yourself in the back, the less you're like that. Yeah,
the more you say I'm not prejudiced, likely you have some hidden prejudices that you haven't explored quite fully. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
That's good. Yeah, I think they did the suspicion and paranoid stuff around, the wealth and how that's going to happen. That they did that pretty good. They sure made the tagline, the treasure hunt and the fact that it might slip through your fingers. They dealt with that pretty good. A little over the top in some places, but I like the old guy character. Howard, loved him. He was just, and then for a while he went a little crazy, and it's like, no, he's not crazy. He's just happy because he's standing on gold and he knows it.
In a way, I felt like he was a relative of ours on Mom's side.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like a little crazy, like Grandpa. You know what I mean? A little eccentric, and yet went and accomplished things that were humongous, and didn't. Yeah. He didn't, as far as I knew him, I was a kid, so I don't remember him patting himself in the back. I built 14 churches and I built these things. Yeah. You know what I mean? He might have done that to adults, but I certainly don't remember that being, I do remember talking about being on a skidoo and how he'd go 80 miles an hour or something like that on a skidoo. Like I remember him telling that story and how fast, and nobody could go faster than him on a skidoo kind of thing. Like,
yeah. Yeah, but that, he was a wise man, and he ended up being a healer. That the scene where he, heals the little boy and the village is all thanking him reminded me of C-3PO and the Ewoks. Mm-hmm. So C-3PO is in the he's a bright shiny thing, and all the Ewoks are worshiping him, and it's like, oh yeah, they just stole that from the treasure of the Sierra Madre.
I'm sure it's a meme that comes from a lot of different things.
Yeah.
There's what's that movie about a can of Coke that falls into an African village?
Yeah.
And I think this becomes the new god or something. Is this
right? Yeah. The other line is when they said, "You talk like you're the boss of this outfit," and that reminded me of "Oh brother, where art thou?" And it said, "Who made you the leader of us? Of this outfit."
I thought I really liked when that James Cody character came in and the whole, we have three options, and he gives them the options of killing me. You know what I mean? And then they take that option, and then they need him like crazy. He ends up being like incredibly valuable when they get attacked, and he ends up dying for that. So all of a sudden they were about to kill him. He's dead. And it's a good thing that helped them like crazy, instead of the idea of the three guys need to shoot him at once. And therefore, you know what I mean? They don't, none of them are less guilty, so that they can't rat on each other.
Right. But that was a struggle, right? Do I kill him? How hard is that for me to do? And if you're doing it to protect yourself, and like even the old guy, when he went to shoot, he you didn't know for sure if he had bullets, even, because you think he might be a person who just would never do that.
Yeah.
But he used his wits about him. I loved his character. I loved his stories. I loved the way he was creative, and I liked the way they revealed their thought process. Like even like with that Cody guy, he revealed, this is what you can do, and I appreciated that. I like that.
Yeah, when you first meet him, you don't hold up much hope for him at all. Then you find out he's part of the gang, and you even hold out less hope for him. Yeah, and he ends up being the strong one. The other two guys, I want to quit. I want to go back. In fact, they said initially, well, let's go spend our money on finding gold, and then they go to prospect, and then they get there, and he's going, let's just go back. I'd rather have the shitty life of begging for money. That's an easier life than this life is.
Yeah,
man, and it would be so easy to get greedy, but the whole idea of I want more gold, I want more gold. The funny line was when they took the gold as dirt, and then he goes, oh, leave that job for someone else. And I'm going, you built a mine. At least you could take the gold out of the dirt, like, because then the weight of it, you're taking so much extra crap you don't need to be taking. And then it's easier to hide in your pockets and stuff. You know what I mean? If you're trying to hide it. So I didn't get why they wouldn't do some refining up on that mountain. I don't know.
Or at least pull out the big blobs of dirt, or even the little blobs of dirt. Yeah, I kind of didn't get that, how much they did it, because it looked like they had all this, they were measuring out really perfect gold. Yeah. So like, were they hiding it within the dirt? Because that doesn't make any sense. So I couldn't quite figure out. I did like how they were talking about the burrows, and it's like, that's my burrow and that's your burrow. And it reminds me of a little bit like, now you'll say, oh, that's his 57 Chevy, or that's his Tesla. But it's like, no, that's my burrow. So we don't recognize burrows anymore, but we'll recognize cars.
Yeah. I mean, Humphrey Bogart was not a terribly likable character. You thought maybe at the beginning you were going to really like him. And he was the most paranoid of the group of three, and then four at one point. And so became less likable as time went on.
Yeah. And the part I did like about him was when they had the bar fight and they went to get the money back that was owed them. They scooped the money out of the guy's wallet, and they only counted out what they were owed.
I like that too. Yeah. But that didn't hold true to the rest of the movie. That was
exactly
what was weird, because you did have hope that he was like that. And then he showed that, and you went, oh my God. But then he fell so quickly apart.
Yeah, it was almost like it really talked about the idea that gold does something to people, that gold fever, and it turns you crazy, I think, in a different way than just money does. It's not just like an honest person stays honest, but when gold fever hits them, you become a different sort of character. So
I remember Dad telling a story about his father being, I think it's South Africa, why he was in South Africa, and how. Did you ever hear a story of him being in South Africa?
No, I thought, well, I think he might have gone when he went around the world, but I think that Hank was in South Africa, maybe.
No, I think he was talking about his dad, and he said that there's a gold nugget in South Africa somewhere, and that part of the lore of this is if you could pick this up, it's yours, and nobody could pick it up because it's so heavy. If it's like, 2,000 pounds or something, right, nobody could lift it. And I remember Dad saying something like the words, and my dad wanted to pick this up so badly. So he tried. Of course, he's not a muscle man or anything, but he still, the rush of needing to, maybe this could be your gold, to really tried like crazy to pick this thing up. And of course he couldn't, but.
Yeah. I guess gambling is something that you only see if you're a gambler. I'm not a gambler in any way. I'm a play it safe kind of person in a lot of things. So I don't have the lure of, one more coin, one more pull of the, I don't get that. I don't understand it. So.
I think I understand it, but it's like alcohol. I avoid it because I think I understand it. You know what I mean?
Right. Enough that it's like, but I don't get the thing that drives you to do those. Like I don't get that part of it.
Well, I mean, it's the winning. It's the fact that all of a sudden all your problems or so you think you have problems are gone, like in a stroke of a roulette wheel. And
yeah, I guess none of my problems can be solved by those things. I guess I figured that part out.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, the people who do roulette, the funny thing is you double your money if you hit red or black. You know what I mean? Like that's the idea behind it. And I remember hearing a guy who sold everything he had. He went down to Vegas. He had $102,000 or something, and his family's all around him. And he decided to put it all on red or black. You know what I mean? Like, and they're gonna spin the wheel. And the funny thought there is, all you have is twice as much as you had. That's not a lot to risk everything. Right. You go to nothing, like risking $20 when you have a lot and it doubles. That's cool. But to go from double what you have, that's not a lot. And yet you risk to zero.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have nothing left. I sort of don't understand. I mean, I remember one of the John Lawson parables that he did when we were in at Dolphin, and he said one day, and I really liked the line. We're in our first big offices that we had, and he said, "You know what, Jeff? If they came and took everything away from us, took our cars, took the offices, took the workers, took our bank accounts, and they left us in our underwear, in the parking lot," he goes, "we could be back here in a year. In other words, we now know how to get here. You know what I mean? We know
right.
the steps it takes to create something like this." And I really liked that, because then that really gave me a lot of freedoms later on. Like when the whole lawsuit thing came, to just be relaxed, because I could go be in my underwear in the parking lot and I'm okay. You know what I mean?
You will return from that, as opposed to it, completely crushing you or whatever. The other thing, the one thing I liked was they were talking about digging their own graves for themselves, like being forced to dig their graves, and they were talking about it, and then they actually had them doing it later on with other people. So I thought that was a thing that a continuity thing that they kind of addressed.
Foreshadowing. I mean, really obvious foreshadowing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you only know that after they do it the second time, right?
Yeah. No, the whole swift justice aspect of it is, I mean, the things like they killed the very end of the movie, they killed the bandits, and because they realized they'd stolen the donkeys. And then now they say to the kid, "What happened? Where were they? Where did you find them? Because that's where we want to find our gold," right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other strange thing there is the gold is heavy. So as the dust is blown away from the gold would stick around a lot more than the dust would. I almost expected them coming and showing up and all this gleaming gold's on the ground, because with that wind that supposedly is saying all the gold is being blown away. Well, that's how those pans work. They work by the gold being the heaviest. And as you're shaking it around, the gold ends up staying at the bottom. All the other stuff diffuses out to the like a centrifuge. Yeah. So I really thought they were going to come in and the wind's dying down. And all of a sudden this gleaming gold sitting there, and they found their gold.
Well, the end was a little bit like the first Ocean's movie. The one with Dean Martin, like the end, the body was cremated, and oh boy, all the money was cremated in the coffin. So that kind of thing. Same sort of thing. The treasure is lost. You cannot get it back again.
Well, I mean, so we think of retirement funds here in this day and age. You know what I mean? That's how we think about how we end our life. And there, they didn't have that same thing. And the old man goes, "I've got it all now, because I can go back to where I'm a king and they're going to treat me wonderfully. I can go die there." That's an obvious solution. And the other guy just wanted the orchard. And now he has the option of having the orchard. I thought he was going to come back with the money. When I heard that line and heard that the guy who died was at an orchard and she wrote that wonderful letter, I really tended to think he was going to take the money and end up showing up and then
giving it to her.
Yeah.
And happily ever after.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I guess it sort of speaks to money's not the important thing.
What is the real treasure?
But I mean, if the old man didn't find an Indian tribe to take care of him for the rest of his life, he needed money.
Yeah, but he did seem like the kind of guy who's like, I'll be okay no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, he was sitting in the same, you know, poor house that they were in, that little, what is it called? Oso Negro, the hotel place they were at. Yeah. And that's where he talked to them. So he was in the same, you know, bad shape, but he was like, you know, the shaman, the wise man. I really liked his character.
Man, and even the other guy, Tim Holt, Bob Curtin. He's very quiet and unassuming, and you didn't quite know how to take him. You assumed he was a nice guy, but you're not sure. And then he turns out to be a really nice guy, and Bogart gets to be a worse guy.
Yeah,
I'm impressed that Bogart took on a role where
he ends up being
dead and almost happy he's gone.
Yeah, it's like, well, that made it easier for everyone. Not really in the end, but yeah. And I liked how they revealed things, like when Curtin went to town and he meets Cody. And the conversation that they have, and it's like, no, I'm all alone, and like, and what to say that will get you out of trouble, right? Because you don't want him to want to come and get you, and then they had the hides that were the cover for the gold, and it's like, it's all pretty good that they thought that out that much. I thought it was well done that way too. But
it showed how the locals, like the bandits, when they said their hides, goes, there's no animals here to shoot. You're just lying. Like, in other words, that it is a secret to you and me. We'd be fooled by it, but people in the know, the Indians and the federales, I mean, they just figure it out.
Yeah,
you can't. The common sense sort of reigns supreme. That's why the swift justice thing happens. Oh, I see them having a ring. Let's go kill them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what happens if they found the ring? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And people showing up at your campfire. Like, we don't know what that's like anymore. We don't have people knocking on our door saying, you know, can I hang out here? Can I live with you for a little while? And, you know, like, we're more compartmentalized. We don't live in community.
Yeah.
The same way that you know, you're not allowed to trespass past people's doors, but back then, you know, you have a tent, and that's how they were living. So,
yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, even Bogart, who's not a terribly welcoming character, still sort of welcomed him in. He said you have to leave in the morning, but he didn't say you've got to be on your way. You know what I mean? Tonight, like at night, go.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, if you're sleeping, go ahead.
That's a dangerous sort of thing, though. You don't know whether he's going to be mad at you and then kill you because of that or whatever. So, yeah, that not knowing whether, like, the bad guys and the federales and the bandits and who's the bad guy, and yeah.
Yeah, you even wonder at times if the federales are going to be the bad guys. Like, that was my
Well, and the people from the village, like, it's great that they honored him but they forced him to come back, and it's like, well, what kind of let me go and be what I want to be. If, like, let me have an open invitation, but don't force me back. That didn't sound too right. Like, he should have been able to explain, I did that for you and I'll come back, but I have to go do something now.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. I'll bring back more medicines, and you'll have all the money to go do that and then still live out a great life. Yeah.
Yeah. But I did like him sitting with, the palm fronds and the girls swooning over him, because he's the one with all the knowledge and the power and all that stuff.
You would think, though, in ancient sort of healing practices, that they just wouldn't go, there's a kid lying there and we don't know what to do. We just back off and just, he's still alive, but he's not active. Like, they'd do something. They'd be giving him, smelling salts. They'd be, praying over top of him, or, you know what I mean?
Something.
Poke around, or they just lying there. And it's as if they were like, dogs not knowing how to accomplish anything. And he's the brilliant outsider coming in to solve the problem. That seems sort of you would think he didn't do anything that wasn't. I mean, I would hold him upside down to see if I can drain his lungs,
or at least put him on his side, like had him on his back. And it's like, and then the kid didn't cough. He just kind of, woke up, and it's like, oh, okay, sure. Like, would have been a nice, the kid would be at least coughing a little bit or something. But it's the same with the arm thing, like push the water out of his stomach or lungs, or just, something like Heimlich maneuver or whatever that make us go, oh, okay, he knew that, they didn't, that makes him look so smart. But it was like just putting his arms up and down. It's like, okay, that's all it takes. He was darn lucky that kid woke up, because it's not really a good option for your medical cure. So yeah, no, that was a good choice. I liked it.
I halfway through it, I wasn't so much liking it. I thought it was maybe a 5 or something, and then at the end, it's like a 6.5, 7. I thought it was by no means a fantastic movie. I think Bogart's done lots better movies, but only because you have a warmer feeling about him, and you didn't in this one. And I don't know about how much I believed he was somebody who was going out after gold in a Western kind of guy. I think of him more in a suit in the city and a detective, you know what I mean, the gumshoe kind of, than I do this kind of. Although he was an African Queen, and he was a bit of a recluse in an African Queen, and that was a fantastic movie. I like that. Have you seen African Queen?
What was that?
Have you seen African Queen?
A long time ago. It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Yeah, no, I like him. I like how he's called Bogey and Bacall. And can you think of any other actor that they've shortened his last name and have it be such a not a terms of endearment kind of thing? Bogey, like no one does, Granty, Cary Granty, or James Stewie, or anything like that. Like,
when they do the things with couples now, like Benifer,
right? But with a single actor, I can't think of any.
Yeah,
that they short. Like Patrick Stewart, I think his Twitter or Instagram maybe. His Instagram name is Sir Patrick Stew. I think that's so cool. How cool is that? It gives himself the name Sir Patrick Stew. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know who else is called Bogey, and I don't know if he ever liked that or hated it or whatever. But
I'm trying to think. I'm sure there must be other names like that, but I'd have to sit down and think about it, I guess.
Because it was a term of affection. It was not meant in any way derogatory, but it's like,
what did they call Marilyn Monroe?
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, I think they did. They didn't have a pet name for
a nickname or anything like that. Mickey Rooney. No, I can't think. Well, it'll be the job to come up with some for the next time. To go, oh, that's who he is.
So you get to pick the last movie of the year.
Of the year, yeah. Don't know what it is yet.
You're going to try and stick with the theme of older movies we've been doing for a while, or?
Maybe. I don't know. I never know until I look. And then I look and I go, oh, that one. And sometimes it's because I see an actor that it's like, oh, I don't know very much. Like I picked that one, George C. Scott, because I know the name, but I'd never seen him in anything. And it's like, oh, okay, it's probably about time I see him in something, right? Because then I know. Same with women, like the women like Anne Bancroft and Anne Baxter, and like people who I don't know, can't tell them apart, don't know which one from the other. And I've been listening to Carol Burnett's books, their audiobooks from the library. And she talks about some of the old, meeting the old movie stars of her youth and getting a chance to meet them in real life. And so she has, names that she's, and it's like, I didn't know, she loves, Beverly Sills or Julie Andrews and how and Jimmy Stewart and how they became her friends. That's kind of neat. So that's what we all, when we were kids, and you have like girls are adoring of boy bands and stuff like that, and I don't know what boys like, but it's the sex symbols that they'd be coming after you or something like that. I don't. I have no idea. But as a kid, I knew that, Donny Osmond would be driving by and his limousine would break down in front of my house and they'd need to come in for some lemonade while they're waiting for the tow truck or something. That's what it was going to be. I have an active imagination. That's where it was in the 70s.
I mean, it's like Terry Garr. I don't know if you've seen on TikTok, but they'll come by and they'll show a person really old and then start making their face younger and younger and showing younger pictures. And then they are a beauty queen kind of thing, but now they're old and wretched kind of. It's a sort of thought process in there. And I saw the Terry Garr one. And when you see the first picture, the whole idea is, do you know who that first picture is?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to try and guess it. And did I get it right? I got it from the second one for sure. I don't remember if I was trying to figure out who it was in the first one. I should actually pause it when I see one of those come up. And then it comes down. And she has MS, and she's like, she's been ravaged her body,
sure.
What she's had to go through, and like she's overweight now and stuff. But I still would love to have a
conversation
and have a talk with her, and I really, really would. It's got nothing to do with. I mean, I almost like that people let themselves go, but don't try and be the thing they were. Like you see all the people, the women who are 80 years old with the same hairdo. The Farrah Fawcett keeps the Farrah Fawcett hairdo.
Yeah, Dawn Wells did the same thing. Marianne from Gilligan and Donna Douglas, Ellie Mae Clampett. They put on that wig or whatever it was so that they would look just like their character.
Yeah, where they got all the
accolades from.
Yeah. And so it's when they can just be themselves and not have to follow into that trap. And
celebrity is not always kind. The people are ruthless in mocking people how they look now, and they've the trashy mags and stuff like that are just awful. About they would ruin somebody's self-esteem. So yeah, it's too bad. I was just I was listening to long story, but a little bit of the funeral of John Candy, and Catherine O'Hara spoke, and she talked about how in this business where they prey on insecurities and they chew you up and spit you out. John Candy was a gentleman, and he had done a number of things that just shone. And I think I love hearing that, that he ended up being just a regular guy. And that's the stuff they want to talk about. Not the fact that he was, well adored by all these fans and all that stuff.
He had a house out in Kaiser Center area, eh?
I think he was visiting. I know the house on Westbrook Road, he was, legend has it that he rode a horse through the lobby. So,
yeah, I remember hearing that. But
and when I walk down Westbrook Road, I'm thinking, I wonder which house it is. Like, it's going to be far off the road, and it'll be one of these big ones. But it's like, it's probably that one or that one. It's just kind of neat to think about. That was kind of a neat story. Like just those regular stories. My favorite one for John Candy is Maureen O'Hara. I think that her name was. She was in Quiet Man with John Wayne. And she was a big star, and then she quit. She hasn't been in for 20 years. She hasn't been in. So he got her to be in a movie with him. So the producers got the trailers for the stars. And there's a big one for John Candy because he's a star. But Maureen is not a star anymore. She's an old star, and she doesn't have the press and all that stuff. And so they give her I think he called it the honey wagon. It's a trailer it's got 6 little, a cot and a shower, and that's all you really have is your own little space, but it's very small and it's not very glamorous at all. And John Candy went to the producers and said, could you please give her some more honor and give her a big trailer? And they said, I'm sorry, we want the money that we pay, we want it to show up in the film. And if we just give her bigger trailer, that's not going to show up in the film. So we're not going to do that. We're sorry, but we're keeping costs down. So John switched with Maureen and made her go into the big trailer, and he sat in this dumpy little thing, which, was, and so the producers were mortified. And so they got him a big trailer, and he said, no, I don't need it. I really don't. If I want it to show up in the movie, I don't want money to go towards me. I'm good. It needed to go towards her. And so they found money for him to have a big trailer. And it's just, I love the way he treated someone with such dignity. And I just love that story.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
Yeah, you do hear about the odd character that comes out of Hollywood that's untouched and nice. And
I'm sure they have their bad moments like all of us do. I mean, our lives are not under microscopes the same way. And the thing is, they're seeking out celebrity, but not really. That you don't really want all of it. Not the paparazzi kind of stuff, because that's got to be ridiculous.
But I mean, if you're going to those restaurants in Hollywood, and even if you live in Hollywood, like I sort of, you wouldn't go to. Why would you go to a restaurant that charges you $400 for a plate of food unless you want to be seen there, unless you want people to talk about you being there, unless you want to be relevant? I sort of don't get it. Like it's.
Well, that's some of it, but it's when you're trying to sneak out to the grocery store and you get hounded or whatever. That would be the difference. Like when you're you're all made up and dressed appropriately, as you're not just trying to drop off your kids at school or something like that.
Yeah, I just.
There's too many actors who want celebrities. Like when kids are starting out, they want to be an actor because they want to be a celebrity because they want the red carpet and excitement, and not realizing that if you really want to be an actor, then you go to the community playhouse and you act and you paint scenery, and then you finally get a bit part, and then you finally get to one day have a bigger role. Because if that's what you love doing, you will do it, and money won't be the thing.
And kids today aren't thinking that at all. They want to be a YouTube star. They look at the YouTube kids as their
idols.
Yeah. It's so I was listening to, there's a girl, Heather McDonald. She's a comedian. I don't know if you've ever heard of her before. She has a podcast called Juicy Scoop. And so she does, the Hollywood inside story kind of stuff. And she was talking about an event she went to, and she's like a C-list Hollywood kind of thing, like by no means is big, but she's a comedian. She's sort of known. And so she goes off to this event, and she goes, and all the people that were there were YouTube stars. I never knew any of them. And yet they're the ones that everybody's giving praise and heaping this. Oh my goodness, you're here. And they're nobodies who just went on YouTube a year ago and got 32 million views. And all of a sudden they're now superstars, and they don't even know how to handle this kind of thing. And all these kids love them and revere them just because they're YouTube stars. So it's a really, the internet's very democratized almost everything, including the ability to be famous. Like you really can write a book and be your own publisher. You can make your own movies. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff that was sort of promised has come ridiculously true.
Yeah, if you want to, yeah. But it's getting it in front of Jeffrey Wright, George's son, our cousin. He wrote a song about Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Yeah. So he wrote a song about it, and it's like, if we could only get him to get it in front of, how do you do that? Like, how do you get it in front of somebody, because it's not that it was, brilliant or anything, but it's like, it's a fun song. And I think he would like to see it, but it's like, used to be able to send a fan letter. And so now it's just different. You have to have the right connections so that it gets seen by the right person. So that
if he did a song and he put it up on YouTube, it would get to him sooner or later, you'd think.
Eventually, but it takes a person who knows someone to get it to someone, to almost always.
I did that Earthling song, right? First transmission where you see me dancing at Jen's wedding. You remember at Jennifer's wedding? I went up and I danced, and there's that video of me with that guy. You not seen the one on YouTube? I'm
sure I have. I didn't know it was specifically for.
It's me lip syncing the words to a song, and then I interdisperse me dancing in slow motion with that guy when we had our sort of dance off at the party. and then back to me driving in my car and walking through Roymore, the house there, and I'm lip syncing the song, and I lie on the ground, and I'm with Lexi and petting her, and I get back up, and so it's just me trying to make a music video, right? Mm-hmm. So I put that up, and then somebody so it's a band called Earthling. Nobody's ever heard of Earthling because they're very obscure rap band from the 1990s. And never made anything big. None of their songs, but I memorized this one song. I so loved the song. So I made this for Chicken, which is Debbie's cousin's daughter. Yeah. Because she sort of liked it when I sang it. And so I made this video of all that done. It starts off with Chicken getting off the lift and snowboarding. And then me with Auntie Jean, sort of, she's like fondling my head and stuff. And then it cuts into me singing the song. So, people would leave comments in the YouTube video. All of a sudden, there's a comment from something called Earthling Music. So it's obviously something to do with the band. You know what I mean? Okay. Some producer or something. Right. In the band, who knows? And this guy goes, "Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. I came across this today. You made my day." Something like that. It goes, "Great moves." You know what I mean? Something of that kind of nature. Yeah, so somebody in the band sees this old fat white guy singing black inner city music.
And they're not saying, we're going to sue you. They're not saying that. They're saying, thanks, I appreciate it.
It was wonderful. And that's really hard for them to find that. You know what I mean? Like that. He had to be typing in the Earthling and First Transmission or, something of that nature. And there's a billion things when you type in Earthling. In fact, almost all of them would go to David Bowie because he's had that song where he's in it. He's an Earthling, or I forget. Always comes up with Bowie first when you type the word Earthling in.
Sure.
So I'm sure if somebody did something about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, if it was any good or interesting or something that he'd want to watch or get a giggle about, it would get to him for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I kind of think that those things are sort of meant to be like when you're supposed to, like, because I was in front of at the book crawl, and the CH guy was filming someone else, and it was like and they were all wrapping up, and I'm walking by, and I said, "I'll be on CH one day," and he said, "What for?" And I said, "I'm going to finish walking every street." He says, "I heard about you," and it's like, but when if you would call and say, "Hey, can I be on CH?" They probably won't. They'll say, "No, thank you." Like the same was when I wanted to, if I finished my walk in 2018 of Hamilton with the mayor. If I had called the office and say, "Would the mayor come and walk with me for the last," it's like I wouldn't get a reply. But I happened upon him as I walked, and I asked him, and he said, "Yeah." And then there we go. But and then the fact that it was filmed had nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? Those things are serendipitous, and sometimes people try too hard to get something to happen, and meanwhile it turns out it's not the thing that you thought at all that got it out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's just when you have a passion for something, just do it, and that in itself should be the reward. And if anything else, if people clam onto that passion and find that valuable and interesting, then it'll come out. I mean, seriously, that took a long time to make that video and learn that song. And just the fact that guy wrote that to me,
that made it
everything so worthwhile. It was like incredible to me. Knowing full well that guy may have shown that to other people and just went, "Look, would you see this? Isn't this the most stupid thing that this guy memorized the word to that song?"
Yep.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny. I was telling Jeffrey Wright too that when people make comments about something or they share it or like it or something, it ends up meaning way more than I want it to, because it means a lot when all of a sudden you have something that has a lot of views, or it's like, oh, people are identifying with it or whatever it is. Like when you had that response, it's like that meant a lot. Like I put up a video of them singing a church song, a rehearsal of a church song. And to put it up, I had to get permission. And so I, wrote the thing and we have to get it to there. Okay. The actual author is there. And then, the publisher is, so I got permission all the way around and I put it up, and someone said, "Oh, thank you for putting up that song. We use it in our worship." And it's like, how cool is that? They used the song that I posted, which is just a choir rehearsal, and they used it for their thing at church. And it's like, I thought that was so cool.
I want to talk to you. Remember that girl who I did the publishing of her book?
Yes.
Self-publishing. She's now like written tons more and still like a ridiculous into writing kind of person. And since you've gone down the road of meeting with your group and doing all that kind of stuff, I think I want her get her to talk to you, just to have conversations about where she should go next. I totally think she should do TikTok. Like a ridiculous 100% think that.
Well, not what I found about writers is there's two different kinds. There's the kind who want to write and create something, and then they don't want to talk about it necessarily. They certainly don't want to do a book reading. They certainly never would want to, be out there, flogging their wares. And then there's the other ones who are media darlings, but just like my story, Confessions of a Streetwalker, would have legs. It would have, because it's got a great title. I'd like to talk about it and stuff like that. But the girl in our group who just writes a story about depression, she doesn't want to talk about it in public. So she's not going to be able to get the traction with it, unless she's willing to talk about it. And then you have to become an expert on it. And then you have to be willing to talk about, personal things and all kinds of interesting, like, marketing is over half of the battle if you want to do anything, as opposed to just writing something.
So, but the marketing can be passive, and that's what people don't quite understand. And so Megan is very much like you said, the ones who doesn't want to be out there, doesn't want to be talking about stuff. And I said, well, then don't even use your face. Do your talking. I've seen one where there's this guy and he's dressed in a suit and he's a cartoon character. And then his mouth is going like this, but this guy wants to talk about a certain topic. So he always comes out with this certain character and he's barely moving because it's only, maybe 5 different images of him. But he is teaching you something all the way through another character. Now, whether he doesn't want to be seen for whatever reason, that's his little thing. But to me, Megan should talk to her 14-year-old self, the 14-year-old who did that book forever ago, all the things she's learned since then. And she goes, well, how many people would end up like watching and stuff? And I said, I don't know. Let's say you did it for a year. And after a year, you had 300 people following you. She goes, well, that's not much. People have millions of followers. I go, wait a second. If right now I told you have to go out into your porch and talk to 300 people that have all come out to your house and they're all standing in your front and you've got to do say something to them, would that make you nervous, or would that? She goes, oh, I couldn't do it. And I said, you have 300 people listening to you after a year of this who want to hear what you have to say. I go, that's phenomenal. That's where you want to be. You have no idea how good 300 people are. Somebody will notice you. Yeah. And like have you heard of the girl who does Betty in the Sky with a Suitcase, the podcast?
No.
I probably told you about this before because it's the perfect story, and it's what I tell almost anybody who thinks about podcasting. She started a podcast. She's a flight attendant for a major airline, and she just goes out and once a month does a 30-minute podcast, which is just stories. She'll have a little recorder and record somebody saying something, and then she has a closet in her apartment that she edits this stuff together and does her speaking, so it's all quiet. She talks about when they're doing work on her apartment and where she flew to, and people she met, and stories from people trying to shove their food down the toilet, and you know what I mean, and messes, people pooping themselves.
The stories.
And she has this. If you listen to it, you'll go, oh, now I understand what Jeff means. She's so real. There's nothing fake about her. And that's what she even tells the story of. I'm on a flight and there's this guy sitting. So I chat with him a little bit and find out he's a lawyer for book publishing stuff. That's what he does. And she's going, I've got a book publisher coming to me and saying they want my stories to be published in a book. And so she ends up saying, can you look at my contract? And so he says, he looks at it while he's on the plane. He's looking at the contract and he's going, that's quite boilerplate. It's all reasonable what they're asking for here. There's nothing untoward that they're trying to rip you off or anything. It's a very reasonable. It's not great for you, but it's not bad for you either. It's what you would expect for your first foyer. into foyer. I don't know what the word is.
It's foyer, but I don't think that's the word that you're looking for.
Step
Foray.
Foray. That's it. Foray.
Because we always say foyer, and that's not how you say
Foray.
it. It's foyer. But you're looking for a different word.
Foray. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that took a while.
So even that story was like a part of the picture to build up what she is. Now she's gotten, like, a lot of people are saying, please advertise my stuff. Please do this. She's making money with it. Like, it's not a lot, but it's her little happiness realm.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote some nasty stuff to her in her comments things. And so she's saying, oh, it really took me aback that somebody would say things. Maybe I'm going to pull back from doing the podcast. It's like, and so then I guess a ton of people wrote wonderful things that please don't do that. Please don't listen to people like that. And then the next week she goes, I was overwhelmed with people
kindness.
saying that. And yeah. And so I just, I was taken aback. So yeah, I will continue. It was just, but that's what Megan needs to do, because if she spoke to her 14-year-old self, and she's not even any further than she was when she was 14, right. But she knows she's so passionate about her writing. It's so much an answer to her for some of the difficulties that she's gone through in life. It's so much of it. And if she would do it, that little thing would gain her a little bit of attention, and the attention is only in applauding her for her passion, which is what you'd want. Yeah. Yeah.
So that Betty is more than just a stewardess. She's a storyteller, and that's the thing. To be a good TikTok person or YouTube or whatever it is, you have to be a storyteller, even if it's in a very short period of time with using a unique method. Because we had a book reading and so I read, the Moose Dance story. And so we had 30 people there, and that was great. But if you put Moose Dance up on the internet and 500 people see it, it's like, that's a lot,
Yeah, no.
But you wouldn't have put 500 people in a room to listen to you read.
No.
So you can't underestimate that kind of thing. Yeah, but it's hard to put yourself out there. Like I myself don't, because I'm with a group of writers, and some of them are like, really, they just gotta put it out. Like they have to do it. And I don't have to do it. I like a good story, and I like being able to craft it. I'm not a particularly good writer. I enjoy doing it. I'm not a great writer. I'm not even a good writer. I just like doing it. And if the story is worth it, then if I make someone smile or I really like when I can do a touching thing and someone said, "Oh, you made me cry." It's like, wow, that's a lot of power. That's not my forte. I like making people smile and laugh. But it's an interesting sort of thing to try and determine whether you really want to put yourself out there like that. But it's worth it, I think.
Well, she was saying, Megan was saying that, doesn't have any real contacts in the world of, that she's sort of immersed herself and made her own little bubble in. But that's how you get those contacts. You show your passion. When she just talked to me a little bit about what she did with her writing, she related this one story of, because I live in New Brunswick now, and she says, "Oh, I wrote something about the Maritimes about somebody who lived in this town in Halifax, near Halifax in Nova Scotia." And she said, and so what I did is I called up Google Earth and I zoomed in on the town so that when I'm just writing the story, the person's walking down the correct streets and going to where they're going. So now that book in that town would be wonderful. Can you imagine somebody saying that town's library? And so she published that book, found the library, or somebody who's interested in writing in their town, like that would be ridiculously a neat synergy. And then she gets to come to that town one day.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. No, I had the same, because we had the book crawl the other day, and we were out there, and most of the people sold a book or two, and some none, and maybe 3. We sold 5, and 4 of them were because it was Hamilton Day, and our stories are based on Hamilton. So it's like, that was a huge because people wanted to read stories about their town. And it's like, that's my thing about my walking project is I'm talking about your town. now I'm talking about Flamborough, which is not where I live, but I'm exploring it and looking at it through new eyes. And so if you live in Flamborough, so I want to get in front of the guy from the Flamborough Review. So I want to tell him how great his area is, his town is, and talk about it a little bit, because I want people there to appreciate what they have, because it's great.
How many pictures have you taken throughout your walking time?
A bunch, and some of them are great, and there's a few. Most of them are not.
Like 1,000 or 10,000? How many?
No, 1,000.
Okay.
Well, there's a bunch of doubles and stuff. I have on the blog. I have more to write. Like I'm going to write one about memorials that I see along the way, and the people who they're for. Like you'll see a cross and some flowers or something, and then I research and find out who that's for. And then, a little thing about their life or whatever. I want to do something on more of the mysteries that I found. I did one about animals that I see along the way. So just little things like that I like to write about.
I'm just thinking of, if you have photos, and you're in the photo, they're selfies, right? With a street sign behind you.
Some, but not many.
Okay.
Yeah, I have.
If you had a lot of those, I'd be able to just take the picture and show them for like a quarter of a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it would just be, I would center your face in it, no matter where the picture is. I would center your face in the shot, and so it would like go, and it'd be your face with all the background changing, your face in the middle, and you know what I mean.
Okay, we're not talking about the movie anymore. we should stop the recording and then keep talking, because we've gone way off topic.
No,
again.
I'm when I post this, I want to send an email to Megan and say, listen to it. We start talking about you at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's sort of my thought process.
No, I should send you a bunch of pictures, and you could make a musical collage and stuff. Because that's the thing I can't do. I don't know how to create, what do you call that? Flowing digital. Like I have pictures, but I don't know how to put them together in a great way and put music behind it or whatever it is.
Because pretty good tools on the web to do that kind of thing.
Sure, but you have to want to, and it's like people who don't want to know how their car runs, or they don't want to know how the computer works, or they don't want to know how the food works to make it taste good, but they just will, I just want to follow the recipe.
Want to learn how a car runs are smart now, because
all
the internal combustion engines are gone, and it's just an electric motor.
Sure.
So that knowledge is a relic of history shortly.
Yeah, one day.
No.
Okay.
Today. Okay. Well, we'll sign it off, and you're going to come up with a movie next time, and away we go.
Yeah, and then it'll be December, and then you get to figure out what we do for January.
Sounds good.
I'm enjoying doing this. Okay. Bye.
I'll stop it now. Stop recording. There we go.